All right, I'm pretty excited to announce the speaker today. It's my older brother, Captain Jack Graham. He's an international and local sport fishing captain, and he's going to kind of get up here and tell us a little bit about where he's fished, his past, and then kind of the current state of tuna fishing on the Outer Banks. So, Captain Jack Graham.
Man, thanks for having me. This is great. I'm about to tell you about an issue I'm quite passionate about. So if I go run too long, somebody wave at me because I will get on my soapbox and go. For anybody who will listen, because I think it's important. So anyway, background about me: Nick's brother. Been obsessed with fishing in the outdoors since I was a little kid. Started doing it for a living about 18 years ago now, and became captain, worked the decks out of Oregon Inlet, started getting on airplanes, traveling around the world, wanted to see the world and get paid to do it and see some beautiful exotic places. It all went great. Then I was actually working in South America. COVID came, sent me home. Boat came along. My partners and I bought the boat. Got a slip at Oregon Inlet Fishing Center, and kind of here I am. That's what I'm doing now, mostly in the summertime. Charter fishing, really busy season, mid-April to September. And I guess, it's a bit of a somber subject that I'm going to discuss today, I guess. It is for me anyway. It started costing us a business, money, tackle. I really think it's, and it's costing you fresh seafood in the restaurants, as well as if you charter my boat, fresh seafood off my boat. We have seen, and I want to say probably, it's been 10 years now it started. And the word that I will use is depredation. So depredation refers to hooking a fish and having that fish taken off of your line by something other than just the fish coming off the hook or the boat running over the fish or anything that just goes wrong when you're fishing. Depredation, specifically in this case, refers to sharks and lots of them. There was a show on CNN a couple of months back about it, and where it's being experienced all up and down the East Coast. Florida kind of came along first, and you'll hear about it in Florida. But let me tell you, I talked to some people in Florida working with this issue. Florida ain't got nothing on what's going on out there right now. It's something to see. We're losing tuna, yellowfin, and big eye tuna by the hundreds of thousands of pounds. And just for example, this past summer, our marina that offers a fish cleaning service was down 500,000 pounds by July 1st. A couple years ago, I started keeping records, and conservatively, we were losing 25 to 30,000 pounds of tuna per day. And there's a lot of theories and a lot of reasons why people think this is happening. And I guess I'll start going into that. But so like I said, I was a mate at the time, and fishing on a boat called the Fantastic, Captain Dickie Harris. Some of you might know him. Great tuna fisherman. And gosh, I got on that boat, and it was like, I remember that first summer. I remember the first time those tunas hit the rods, and we hooked like 8, and we caught them all, and we went right back through them, and we did it again, and we caught them all, and we were home at 10 o'clock in the morning before lunch, and I was like, this is awesome. And we did that for a month straight. I mean, just great. The next summer, we did it again, although every once in a while that summer we'd lose a tuna to a shark. No big deal, one here, one there, didn't matter. We were still home by noon, no problem. The next summer, a few more. The next summer, a few more. Then all of a sudden, it became, all right, we had to get 36 bites to catch our 18 tuna, or 40 bites to catch our 18. So we were still catching our limit, right? But we were losing twice that to get to our limit. And so we saw it, okay, then the next year was, maybe 3 to 1. And it's become now, last summer was about 95% of our fish we're losing. Now, it's kind of funny because we'll start off in, kind of early May, they won't get there yet, and we'll start catching some fish and catching some fish and catching some, and okay, oh, maybe they're not coming, and then all of a sudden, June rolls around, and here they are. And these aren't just regular, these are fantastic tuna specimens. These are big eye tuna, 150 to 200 pound class. These are yellowfin tuna, 60 to 80 pound class. And we just can't get them to the boat. And we've tried. I actually went summer before last, contacted a congressman out of Virginia, Rob Whitman. He had me up to speak before a House Congressional Committee. And so it's bad. I mean, you figure a 200 pound big eye at the fish market, a commercial fisherman, he's going to get about $12 a pound for that fish. So that's a $2,000, $3,000 fish. We used to have a fleet of green stick boats, and this is where I feel like it affects you. You're not, any tuna you're eating in a restaurant now that's local is coming off a longline boat. So that fish is at best 3 days old when it hits the restaurant. So we used to have this incredible hook and line, sustainable green stick fleet. You've probably seen them around launchies, the small boats with the big green sticks. I have not seen one in 10 years. They've put them out of business completely. They cannot come anymore. They cannot catch. They just cannot get the tuna to the boat. And then as far as my business goes, I've got these charters who they're calling me on the phone now saying, "Hey, Captain, we want to come catch some tuna. When should we come that there aren't going to be any sharks?" So, and we're really, especially last summer, really starting to see sort of a downturn. I mean, I've been in touch with the scientific community trying to get folks to come. I mean, it almost feels like a conspiracy theory, and I hate to get political. I don't think this is a political issue, but I call scientists on the phone and say, "Please come with me, come see this." "Oh, no, it's dusky sharks." "Well, dusky sharks are protected." "Well, there's no dusky sharks." And I'm like, "Well, there's a 600 pounder right here beside my boat eating my tuna up," So it's turned into a struggle. Like I said, you'll hook 6 or 8 big eye tuna at a time. I hook 6 or 8 big eye tuna at a time. That's my day. We catch all 6 of those. The box is full. We're going home. But all 6 of those get eaten, and then we just have. And the problem is then it turns into a vicious cycle. So, you've got a fleet, let's say 25 boats. So I go through the tuna. I get my bites. I catch my fish. That sends me to the house. The next boat does that, and so it's a team effort. We're all making our charters happy. We're not catching too much. We're catching what we need, and then we're all getting out of there and going home. So everybody gets their turn. Well, now it's just I go through them. They all get eaten. The next boat goes. They all get eaten. And then so it's just a circle. So like I said, 25,000 pounds a day, conservative estimate. And what's crazy is the fishing is really, really good. So we had the big eye tuna around all the way into August this year. That's unheard of. Last 2 years, they've been around all summer long. We could have the happiest customers in the whole wide world. World-class, unbelievable fishing of fish that we cannot catch anymore. And I've kind of had to change my strategies on what, more mahi focused, fishing for different things now. But the problem is, people think Oregon Inlet, North Carolina, they think yellowfin tuna. And a little mahi this big does not have the yield that a 70, 80, 90, 100 pound tuna does. So that's what our clientele is based on. They come from Pennsylvania, they come from Ohio, they come from New York to fill that boat up with tuna, and they bring their vacuum packers and their canners, and they vacuum pack it and they take it home and fill their freezer for the winter. So it's pretty profound. So I guess let's get into the why of the question, and that is where I always tell people we know more about outer space than we know about what's going on out in that ocean, because the more I do it, the less I know. But one thing I do know is those sharks are very consistent. So it would have been probably about 25 years ago now that basically what happened was there used to be this a shark fishery, commercial fishery for sharks. The Asian market loves, and I don't mean this is not stereotypical, this is what it is. Asian markets, there's a high demand for the shark fins. Okay, they make soup out of them, they make other delicacies that I've never tried before, but big money in shark fins. Okay, so a lot of these commercial guys, they would charter fish all summer, and then in the fall the shark season would open up. So the rules stated that you had to bring the whole shark in, and then you could sell the fins. So you had to sell the shark to sell the fins, which makes sense to me. That was so that people weren't just lopping the fins off and throwing a live animal overboard. Nobody likes that, right? That's bad. So essentially they started, and these guys were making money, but they'd only get 50 cents a pound for the meat, but they were getting $45 a pound for the shark fins. Okay, so they're having $10,000, $25,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 trips making these money on shark fins, and there's a quota and everything like that. Well, in my opinion, and this is an opinion, but they got a little greedy, okay? And a couple of times the Coast Guard got on the boat, and all of a sudden there were more shark fins than there were sharks, and all of a sudden they're like going, okay, what's going on here? You know what I mean? And which I always tell people get mad about regulations, but regulations usually come from a couple of bad apples doing the wrong thing, and then the rest of us get blamed for it, right? Then we all can't do it. So anyway, NOAA stepped in, no more sharks, no more killing sharks. The dusky shark, which was their main cash cow, the dusky and the sandbar, they're out. You can't catch them anymore, can't kill them anymore. Okay, that was 25 years ago, right? They said a 100-year moratorium on these sharks. So for 100 years, and the problem with that is for 100 years, they're not even gonna study it, okay? They're not gonna study it, they're not gonna worry about it, no, nothing. We're just 100 years and we'll revisit it then. So what we have learned is that the ocean is incredible, right? And I don't know if you've heard about the red snapper, anybody, if you're there, so the American red snapper, we're dealing with the same thing. Boats and Hatteras are catching red snapper as hard as they can go, but they can't keep them. Have to let them go. What I have learned is when you protect something, it does work. So, hats off to NOAA and all those guys. But my theory is that, you had this really great commercial fishery where these guys were making a lot of money, doing really well, and that kind of kept the shark numbers kind of at bay. Sharks give birth to live young. Okay, like they don't lay eggs like fish do, so they give birth to live young. So that live shark, he comes out about this big. He's an eating machine right out of the gate. He doesn't have to worry about a sea turtle coming and eating the eggs, or a mahi eating little eggs or anything like that. He comes out and he's ready to roll. So the survival rate of a shark pup is much higher than just a normal fish. So my theory is, and like I said, it is just a theory, but it goes along with the conservation of the speckled trout back here. We've got more speckled trout than we've ever had before. The red snapper, I could go on and on. We're seeing these numbers have just all of a sudden taken off, and it's a real problem. And so where now because I've been beating the phone lines as hard as I can, calling NOAA and calling the people that make the rules. Actually, the head of HMS, Highly Migratory Species at NOAA, Guy Dubeck, told me flat out on the phone the other day that they have screwed up and they don't know what to do anymore. And so fast forward to about 4 years ago, this, how Congress likes to make those big bills and they put all this stuff in it, that you don't see. Well, one of those defense bills had a congressional ban on the sale of shark fins. Okay, so now, even if this is our dilemma as fishermen now, because they're starting to realize, okay, we screwed up the sharks and maybe they're gonna start to give us some back. All right, but the problem is, if I'm a commercial fisherman, I'm getting 50 cents a pound for shark meat. And they're big and they're bulky and they're nasty and they're stinky, and it just ain't worth it for me to go out there and catch these sharks for 50 cents a pound when I can go catch a bluefish or something like this and get a couple bucks. So the problem is now, even if they said, hey, dusky sharks, sandbar sharks, you guys have at them, the market's gone. It's illegal to sell the shark fins now in the States. And the shark fin thing, it gets a bad rap because it does in other parts of the world. Indonesia, for instance, I used to travel in Indonesia, did a lot of spearfishing. I loved Indonesia because you never had to worry about a shark because they killed every one of those things, you know. And I knew I wasn't going to get attacked by a shark. It was great, but that is also a problem. You know, you need the balance here. So my whole theory is if we had fins, because you know the shark fins are still coming in. There's a black market for everything, you know. I mean, especially those types of markets, you know, they're bringing in the shark fins, the different parts of different animals from all over the world. I mean, the global exotic pet trade, you know, is something that's, you know, catastrophic. So my whole theory being that if we bring back the sharks, we regulate it, let them sell the fins, that's going to take heat off other places around the world. So anyway, that's kind of my spiel as far as what's going on, and as fishermen we feel very helpless right now because we're seeing this incredible fishing that we can't do anything about. You know, I mean, it's gotten to the point where, you know, we have our fancy machines, our sonar machines and everything like that, and I'll be riding along, and if it's the right time of year in the right place out there in the ocean, I'll see a mark of tuna and I just turn the other way. You know, because I know what what will happen if you do go over there and get your charter a tuna bite. And you know, some people have mentioned, well, maybe you should run shark charters, and maybe we should, and you know, this and that. But that's not what we got in it for. You know what I mean? Most of the guys in my industry are passionate and love what they do. We love catch. There's nothing more spectacular than looking behind that boat and watching these depth charge splashes exploding behind the boat as those tunas go on you. And then, you know, knowing that, you know, wow, I'm going to get to take a nap today because if I catch all these, I get to go home early, you know. So anyway, it just, to me, commercial fishing has taken a hit. Our recreational fishing is, you know, is going downhill, I think, really, really fast, just because the disappearance or the unavailability of our tuna is probably going to be the death of this fleet out of Oregon Inlet if something doesn't change, you know. And like I said, the overpopulation thing, it is a theory. I think it's a good one just because of what I see as far as what has happened with other species. And I'm sure there's other factors at play. There's a lot of fish out there. Sharks are attracted to other fish, you know, they like to eat. But what people don't realize is a healthy tuna will never get caught by a shark. They can't do it. They can't catch a healthy tuna. So the only way they're catching that big tuna is when he's on the end of my line. And you think about that poor tuna, he's got a 20,000-pound boat dragging him this way and sharks coming up at him from that way, you know. I mean, it's a heck of a way to go. Anyway, we're really seeing it, and we're starting to hear from our friends to the north, you know, the boats from Virginia Beach. They're having the same problem now. There used to be a great white marlin fishery with live bait. They would catch these live bait. Now they can't even get the live bait up off the bottom of the ocean because the sharks eat them before they get up. We're hearing it from Ocean City, Maryland, same thing. So I will tell you that when you watch Shark Week on the Discovery Channel, the endangered thing I do agree with in some parts of the world, but just know that they're alive and well out here. The good news is they're deep water pelagic sharks, so you don't have to worry about them going swimming. They're out there 30 miles in the Gulf Stream. But anyway, it's a problem. Write your congressman, make phone calls. I mean, it is, I do believe it's important, especially on the commercial fishing side of it, because we already have a problem with imported seafood here in the United States. All right, a lot of seafood's imported. Everything you see at Food Line and whatnot says Indonesia or Thailand or something like that on it. So, you know, we rely on all this fish that comes out of Oregon Inlet. I mean, what a great thing we have out here, and the fact that all these boats are not able to come in and sell their fish anymore locally, or even, you know, ship it all over the country, which is what used to happen. That's just making us more reliant on foreign seafood, and eventually it might come to that, you know, the whole stretch on the East Coast. So that's what's going on. Yes, sir. Questions?
So, Jack, you know, you said they can't catch the tuna, you know, when they're in the water unless they're on the hook. So what are they feeding on for this explosive growth in the shark population?
That's, you know, like I said, that's a good question. I know that
there's a lot of commercial squid boats that come, so, and I see it a lot of times now where we used to be, you would see the tuna's ball and bait on the surface and it would just be tuna. And now you kind of see them and the sharks mixed in together. So my assumption is that they're working with the tuna. As far as the tuna, usually sharks are scavengers. All right, sharks were put on this planet to take care of the tuna that was born with one fin. You know what I mean, or half a tail. That's what they were put on the earth for. But really, genetically it keeps the fish population better because they take out the genetically inferior fish. But I was talking on the radio with a squid boat back in the summer, and he's a trawler and he drags his net, and he was talking about how they've lost all this net because the sharks are attacking the bag with the squid in it and just ripping holes in it, and then all the squid falls out, and it's just like he's got to go back around and do it all over again. So it's not only costing us it's costing us fish. It's costing us a lot of resource. Like I said, the numbers I'm giving you are really not. They're conservative in my view. Because I've lost as many as 25 big eyes in one day, and that's me one boat. And then we got 50 boats out there fishing. But they're definitely working together. You see them. We see big places of pilot whales sometimes, and it's really neat. They get all bound up on the surface together, and it's a feeding frenzy kind of thing. We used to love to catch tunas around the whales. It was so much fun. One of the best ways we could cast into them and troll around them. And but now the sharks really, really, really like to live with those whales too. So we don't even mess with the whales anymore. But yeah, they're definitely all working together. And that's another question. Is it an overpopulation of sharks or an underpopulation of bait fish? And I wonder that as well. We saw that in the Chesapeake Bay with the menhaden. One of the reasons the striped bass don't come down anymore, and again, this is an opinion, but one that makes sense, is we don't see those big schools of menhaden come down anymore because there's these massive operations. And I'm a very pro-commercial fishing guy. Believe in it, but I also believe in regulation. Okay, so you have these menhaden boats, and they've got spotter planes and helicopters, and it's big business, and they can send that plane out and tell them right where the school is. The boat goes up, he wraps them up. And since we've seen that plunge in bait fish, we've seen the plunge in striped bass too. So that's definitely something it could be, and probably the truth is somewhere in the middle, as it so often is, for sure.
Is there any sort of, I'm sure that all of the fishermen are working together on this, but are you guys growing at like a coalition of people so that your voice becomes louder? Like you coming and talking to us and telling us to ride our congressman, is there something that more of the people that are just living their everyday lives can do to help your cause?
I would say yes. Like I said, we're, I went to Congress a couple years ago, spoke in front of a House Congressional Committee. That bill did pass through Congress, last I heard. I don't know if it's gone in front of the Senate yet. CNN, Anderson Cooper had a big story on it, and a fellow named Flan Navarro from Florida was the keynote guy on that. And so he did a big thing about it, and they took some CNN people out fishing, and you watched on the show as they lost their fish immediately. I think we have a war, and I hate to call it a war because I wish that science and fishermen could get on the same page, because really, you see these scientists and they go out, they get a grant, but their grant's only so much. They go out for a week at a time. Okay, they get a boat like me, and they pay me to take them out for a week. All right. Well, the fish aren't always there that week, and they might only go to one spot. You know what I mean? So we have such a vast collection of data every single day from our fishing community because we're out there every day. And that's a big problem. Okay, there's another example. So I'm required to submit a catch report to NOAA every single day. And I've been beating the battle drum really hard on this one. And that's why I am a conspiracy theorist with this. I'm not, but I am, because there's no there's nowhere for me to report depredation in that catch report. And I have been calling them and calling them and calling them and begging for a depredation field, because it asks you what you caught. Okay, so I caught this, I lost that, but there's nowhere for me to report it in any kind of way that would make it relevant. So there is a coalition, and we're trying to get the word out, and I don't think we're trying hard enough. I think we do need to be doing more. I think we need to get together, but fishing regulations are hard, and you can get in a lot of trouble, and lose kind of your livelihood if I just said, I'm gonna go start killing these sharks and bringing them in and selling the fins, you know what I mean? I mean, the feds are gonna be on you in a second, you know what I mean? So, but I do think the battle cry is being heard a bit more now than it has been, but it's hard to educate we all live at the beach, right? We know what the tide is. We know what I'm taking people fishing today, and I'll sit them down in the morning. I'm telling them, well, we've got an outgoing tide. It's going to make the inlet a little choppy, and the wind's northeast, so it might be a little and they look at me like I'm speaking in tongues, whereas us around here, we live at the beach. We know a northeast wind makes it choppy. We know a west wind makes it calm along the beach, so that's the issue. We're this small community, and then you've got the Discovery Channel, and you've got National Geographic, and they're pulsing this stuff out over the airwaves, and that's what they get. You know what I mean? And so it's hard, and like I said, that's why I've tried to be in touch with the scientists to say, hey guys, you have a success story on your hands. You have taken this population that you felt like was struggling and brought it back from the brink 75 years ahead of time. Like what a great story. They should be proud of that, and that's my whole thing is, why can't these guys come and see this and then pat themselves on the back, and all of a sudden we've got a blueprint for conservation that we can send all around the world. You know what I mean? So I think it's a great thing. It's hurting me, but I also think that conservation is important. And so what a great job we've done, but now it's time to give some back to us, to let the commercial guys, to let them make a living, and let me just make my charter hat.
Great job.
Thank you guys. Pleasure. Oh, sweet. Thank you so much. Enjoyed it.
It's all college.